Or white carnation. You'll notice all officers today have a white carnation upside down. That obviously signifies the bloodshed and a life of service. The moment that was compelling to me was seeing her stepmom get that carnation pinned to the back of her badge. Her fiance was comforted by a fellow wife of an officer who died in the line of duty in 2020. It's a very somber day out here, a quiet day out here. Something that's also nice to see is the of community members coming out here. Several people wearing Officer Seara Burton shirts, carrying signs, doing all sorts of things to thank an officer who served their community. The number of people, both officers and just everyday common people, just coming out here to pay their respects to an officer. A somber day indeed, but it's something that all of these people are happy to do and want to do in order to pay their respects to an officer. I had a moment to talk to some of the officers who were walking in there today. Something that we'll look forward to today is obviously they're doing that file by inside the gymnasium, but they'll also do it with all the K-9 officers. Obviously, Officer Burton leaves K-9 Brev behind. K-9 Brev will, of course, walk past the casket along with all the other K-9 officers that are out here today. It'll be a somber day, but it'll be one we will sure to follow to bring you guys the very latest. Of course, we got to look at Officer Burton's obituary. In that, we're learning more of who Officer Burton was before she put on the uniform and who she was outside of the uniform. Her family calling her a lover. She graduated from just Northeastern High School in 2012, excited to be an officer. But most importantly, family says she just loved serving her community. On here it says that when Seara's off duty, she loved laughing and gaming, traveling, lifting heavy weights, and drinking coffee. They also say that she was a vegan and loved spending time with her family and her fiance, who she just met a year ago. Of course, the two were supposed to get married 9 days before Officer Burton was shot in the line of duty. Just a tragic, tragic scenario from everyone around. And we'll see that today. There are several people who will be speaking today, from the mayor all the way down to Rick Snyder from Indianapolis, officers from all over the state, even officers from outside of the state, coming here to pay their respects to Officer Burton. Reporting live in Richmond, Caitlin Kendall, WRTV.
Caitlin, thank you for kind of giving us the sights and sounds from outside. She did mention that walk by that they're doing on the inside. More and more people are pouring into that room to give their final respects.
We're expecting hundreds of people, as you can see, already entering the Tiernan Center there at Richmond High School. Our Kelsey Anderson is live outside the memorial, outside the municipal building where we saw hundreds of people yesterday during that visitation. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Raphael and Lawrence. You can see this memorial behind me. It's been growing for weeks now. This here for Officer Seara Burton. You can see the candles, the stuffed animals, the flowers. Something I've never seen before is over here. There's a prayers for Seara, and that's where people can grab a ribbon, say their prayer, and tie it to that fence so they can see just how many people are praying for her. This is out here during her, during her time in the hospital and also after her death. So a lot of people still praying for Seara, praying for her in the afterlife. And we've got people coming by all morning long to pay their respects, including Brian here. So Brian, he's from Connorsville, and he came by today. And Brian, tell me a little bit what brought you out here today.
Well, of course I came for a doctor's appointment, and while I was here I thought I'd just run by here and see her memorial and stop by and give my respects to her and her family.
Yeah, and you told me you have several friends who are officers in
Yes.
Connorsville, and so what's it like for you to know that, this could be them? I mean, it kind of hits close to home.
It does hit close to home, and me being a member of the American Legion, it feels like she's serving our community. It feels like a veteran. So, and you pay respects to your veterans and you love them, and I do that to the cops and the officers and the EMS and the fire department also, and it does hit hard.
Yeah. And what's your message to Officer Burton's family today as they are mourning and as they continue to mourn?
God love them. Prayers are with them and their families, and they will be continuing with them, and just they have support from all of us.
Yeah. And what's your message to officers across Indiana, across the country this morning?
Thank you for serving us. We respect you 100%. You have our total backup, so we're here for you.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add this morning?
I just pray for all of our officers, and that they're at peace and that they stay safe.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. And so, again, this memorial is sitting out here, and this is where that final call, that 10:42, is going to happen after that funeral with that procession. Now, another thing that I've seen already this morning is people making these bags. You see them lining the sidewalks here, both up and down outside of the city building. People can write their personal messages to Officer Burton and her family, fill them with sand, light a candle, and act as a lantern. Now you can see some of them have been out here for quite some time, others brand new today. So again, a lot of mourning still happening here in Richmond, still going to continue happening even after today's funeral services. Raphael and Lauren.
Kelsey, thank you so much, with insights from someone who wanted to just stop by and give their best. And I think we're seeing that throughout Central Indiana. We've seen that really since she was shot back in August. People wanting to connect in some way, wanting to make sure that the officers, whether in Richmond or in Indianapolis, Franklin or Greenwood, that they would know that people have their back. And so that's what's happening this morning as people are looking for that connection. The connection is very simple, right? These folks go to work every day. They're the ones that answer the 911 calls, and people do feel that they do give back to their communities in so many different ways. And so that's why we're seeing this outpouring of support and love, not only in Richmond, but really throughout all of Central Indiana.
That's right. So many people, we've seen comments on Facebook posts about her saying, I'm from a different city, you know, in another part of the country, that they're praying for her, they've been thinking about her, and she's been on their mind. So a lot of people praying for that family today. Something interesting, Raphael, we were out at the visitation yesterday where we know hundreds of people came to pay their respects yesterday as well. And we talked to one woman who is a Richmond resident who actually had a run-in, she said, with Officer Burton a couple days before she was shot, and she said it was such a pleasant experience. She said she had her K-9 Brev with her, she was fair, she did a good job, and she said she just did a fabulous job representing that community. And so that woman came to the visitation, was really emotional because she had just talked to her days before. And so I think that's why so many people feel so connected to Seara. You hear nothing but good things, how she represented that community.
And these are the stories that the families want to hear. It will bring them comfort, not only today, but in the days to come, when all the cameras go away, when the media goes away, when they're alone in a couple of months. They will want to have those stories front and center to bring them comfort. You are watching live coverage of the funeral of Officer Seara Burton from Richmond, Indiana, inside the high school. Let us take you inside as police officers from all departments across our state and the region are paying their respects on this Monday morning. You are watching live coverage of the funeral for Officer Seara Burton from Richmond, Indiana. When the funeral starts in earnest, we will break away, we will stop talking, and you will be able to watch all of it live without any interruption, whether you're watching it live on WRTV or any of our streaming apps. as we continue to watch the officers, though, walk into Richmond High School there at the Tiernan Center as they pay their respects and take their seats before the funeral begins. Once Officer Burton did pass away on September the 18th, we saw a number of messages that were posted publicly on Facebook, including from Amy Miller. Amy Miller is her stepmother. Amy Miller is also a Richmond police officer. She calls herself the bonus mom. She wrote on Facebook to her, to Seara, "Keep watch over us, sweet girl," she wrote. "My heart is broken in a million pieces, but I am so honored to have you as your bonus mom. I'll love you forever." That was the message from Amy Miller, her bonus mom. Her mom, Jennifer Miller, was also in attendance this morning.
And Raphael, it's such an emotional time watching all of this, and we've never met Seara Burton, but anytime we have an officer funeral, and unfortunately we have had a few even recently, you can only imagine what Seara's close family and friends are going through right now. There's so much sadness, but it's so incredible to show a support for them. And so I was kind of wondering over the weekend as we were preparing for the funeral, what might be going through their minds today. So I reached out to a mother of another fallen officer here in the state of Indiana, Nicholas Schultz, who's a classmate of mine. So I reached out to his mother, Colleen, up in Northwest Indiana. Nick was a Merrillville police officer who was shot in the line of duty in his early 20s. And she wrote me a really long, thoughtful message, so I wanted to share some of her thoughts with you guys today, and maybe we can kind of get an idea of what Seara's friends and family are thinking right now. So she said, to start off, she's so sad to hear about another senseless shooting, and her heart goes out to the family. She says much of the wake and the funeral for her son Nick are a blur, but other moments she thinks of every single day. She says it was overwhelming at times and comforting at other times, just the show of support. She couldn't believe how many people came to the hospital to see him, how many people showed up at the wake, how many people showed up for the funeral, and how many police officers were in that long procession as they went from Merrillville to Lowell, his hometown. She said the buildings and the businesses had signs in their windows as they were driving through there. People were lining the streets. She says today he brought that community together. He brought Lake County together. And I think that's very similar to Richmond, another small, closer knit community. And today people from all over have their eyes on Richmond, and they're keeping a close watch on Seara and her family. And I hope they find a little bit of comfort in that, knowing that so many people have their backs.
I was in Richmond a couple of weeks ago for their International Music Festival, and the officers who were walking the beat on that day, Lauren, had a chance to talk to them, and they were just felt so good about how the community had come together, how the community is showing support for all the officers, because it has been many long hours since the night she was shot, and then of course watching her being in hospice and then the death. And so, as you point out, what happened there in Lake County as well here in Wayne County, it is very similar. People coming together and telling people that they support them, and also recognizing the tough work that these officers do. So it is a day that we can say that many of the folks in this room and across our neighborhoods here in Central Indiana, is a day that people are saying that they do support the local law enforcement. And even though there are those that have some issues, which will not the point of today, but that's for later to have a discussion about that. Today is about support. Today is about the commitment that these men and women make every single day to their communities.
And we know that so many people, including law enforcement, are coming here to the Tiernan Center at Richmond High School, and a lot of those folks aren't going to be able to park their cars right by the center. They're taking buses in from different areas.
Take a look at this live picture. Breathtaking, breathtaking. As we see the show of support, we can see by some of the insignias on the patches. I see some state police office troopers are there in the audience, but this image is breathtaking. Yeah,
all different departments represented there. It's just incredible. And Kelsey was tweeting about all the different people coming, that once they arrive here, they may have to wait another hour till after the funeral is done to get back to their cars.
Maybe. It could be longer.
Which I think shows you how important it is. People are, leaving what they need to be doing today to come out to this. That's how important it is. And our Kelsey Anderson is out by the memorial as people are coming in today. Kelsey, outside the Richmond Police Department, I know you're talking to folks out there. What's it been like so far this morning?
Well, Lauren, there's been about a dozen people since we've been here coming by. I think more people are going to come later once that procession gets running. But what you can see on the sidewalks right now are these bags with messages. They're makeshift lanterns. Some of them thanking Officer Burton for her service. Some saying, "We love you, we miss you," supporting her family. All different messages right here lining 5th Street. And I'm here this morning with Robin Mann. She just stopped by to pay her respects. And Robin, tell me what you wrote on your bag.
Thank you for your service. God is bless.
And so what made you want to stop over here today? You told me that you've had an interaction with Officer Burton before.
A brief one, yeah. It was at the pet walk like a week and a half before this happened, and her and the other K-9 officer were doing a demonstration with their K-9s, and that was when I saw her. I didn't really speak to her, but I saw her and her K-9 brev.
And so I saw you walk up here kind of just taking in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Just what was going through your mind as you walked up here and saw all the flowers, all the stuffed animals, all the messages to Officer Burton?
I realized that I don't know, she's only been a K-9 officer for like 4 months or something, and that she was really missed, and everybody is really, respectful of what happened. And it's just sad that what happened, because she should be on her honeymoon right now, not this.
And so you sat here, you took in the scene, and then you saw the bag and you decided to write that message. Tell me a little bit about, it almost seemed like you were drawn to do that.
Yes, because I didn't realize I could do that, and then I was like, I wanted to. I just felt like I should, because out of respect.
Yeah. And so you came over here today because you were dropping your fiance off at work, but you kind of just felt called to come over to the memorial.
Yes, I did.
Anything else you want to add? Any messages to Officer Burton and her family this morning?
I'm sorry that this happened. It should have never happened. I know she should be on her honeymoon with her fiance or would-be wife right now. And I'm just really sorry that this happened. And I feel for her family and her friends. And I am so truly sorry that this happened. It never should have happened. And I hope everybody's okay.
Well, thank you again for stopping this morning and talking to us and leaving those messages for Officer Burton. So again, this memorial is just here outside of this city building. This is along 5th Street, and so we do know that when that procession comes this way, this is where that call to 1042 will happen, that final call for Officer Burton. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Kelsey, thank you so much. Our live coverage continues. For Richmond Police Officer Seara Burton, as you can see, we are live inside the Tiernan Center here at Richmond High School, as the gymnasium is filling very quickly as officers from around the region are coming in to join the family to pay their respects. After the passing of Officer Burton on the 18th, her wife, per the obituary, she wrote something on Facebook that I want to share with you because it caught my attention, Lauren. It really speaks to the love between these two ladies, a profound love. They were set to get married 9 days, of course, before their wedding. This tragic situation occurs, but Seara Neal wrote this on Wednesday on her public Facebook page. These are her words. Let me share them with you on this Monday morning as you're watching these live images coming in from Richmond. She wrote, "I will forever be grateful that you gave me euphoric happiness from the moment we met. I can still hear you laugh. I would do anything to have you back. I love you so much." The words of Seara Neal, talking about the love of her life, who was shot on that day in August. And so here we are, as the community comes together, stands behind this family, not only her mothers, but also her cousins and her sisters, to say that we support you. That is the message. That is what this image says this morning. And they also want to let the family know that they're grateful that Seara Burton answered the call to service.
And our Caitlin Kendall has been outside of Richmond High School, kind of taking in the sights and sounds as folks are filing in here. Caitlin, there's flags behind you. There's so much to see. I'm sure it's somewhat quiet in the way as people are paying their respects. What can you tell us about what you've been seeing and what's going on inside?
It is very quiet, Lauren. I think quiet might be an understatement. It's pretty eerie when you hear how quiet things are out here in these somber moments. The flags behind me, when I spoke to people, I've been out here covering Richmond and out in Richmond several times since Officer Seara Burton was shot in the line of duty before her passing. And I just talked to the people of Richmond. People of Richmond say their slogan here in Richmond is "We are Richmond." They come together when tragedy happens. They support one another when tragedy happens. And we've seen signs of that support throughout this entire thing. Obviously, Officer Burton serving the Richmond community thanking her and saying, you know, what can we do to pay our respects to you? The number of people filing in today is compelling. The amount of people, both officers and people from Richmond, people from outside of Richmond, making their way inside Richmond High School to pay their respects to Officer Burton. Of course, they're doing a file by right now, so every single officer will go by the casket and pay their respects to Officer Burton before that funeral is set to start at noon. All the officers will file by, and then all the K-9 officers will file by that casket. All the K-9 officers, of course, there with their handlers. Of course, Officer Burton was a K-9 officer. Brev will make his way across and pay his respects to his handler. Officer Burton, a K-9 officer for not very long, a Richmond police officer for just 4 years. Family wrote in the obituary that she always wanted to be an officer. She spent a lot of time serving her community and giving back to her community. Her stepmom, or bonus mom, is a fellow Richmond police officer. She will be talking today during the funeral, as well as her fiance, Seara Neal. She will be speaking. We'll hear from a number of people. Amazing Grace will be sung with the Policeman's tribute by Honorable Captain Brian Wolf. He will sing that. We have, of course, heard that during Officer Noah Shanavez's funeral. An emotional moment in the funeral. Everyone paying their respects to Officer Burton. I wanted to take a moment to read. It sees the K-9s are making their way inside inside Richmond High School, inside the gymnasium. All those K-9s will walk past the casket and pay their respects, and then Brev will walk past one final time. It's something when you see line of duty deaths, it's obviously always emotional, but when you see a K-9 officer who's killed in the line of duty and you hear the cries of all the K-9s and you hear the whimpering of all the K-9s walking past, it's something that you can't forget. It's an emotional thing, obviously, to see an officer die, but to see all the K-9s walk by, it's something as well. I want to take a moment also to read a little bit that her family wrote inside the program that's being handed out at the funeral. They said, from the time she was born through childhood and teenage years and into adult life, Seara carried her positive, compassionate, and happy spirit with her always. You can see that before the funeral services started today, they were playing a slideshow of pictures of Seara, and she did have that smile. It's something that a lot of people who knew her personally said they will never forget, her smile and her laugh. And in most of her pictures, she is smiling from ear to ear. It's something that I'm sure this entire community, those who know her and don't know her, are here today to pay their respects to Officer Burton. Lauren, Raphael.
Kaylin, thank you so much for those observations back inside the Tiernan Center here at Richmond High School. Let us watch as the K-9 officers now file by the casket of Officer Seara Burton.
And you're seeing K-9 Brev right now, Seara's partner, being escorted up to the casket.
You are watching live coverage of the funeral for Officer Seara Burton, now underway inside of Richmond High School.
You may be seated.
Let's take you live now as the ceremony is now underway here on WRTV.
On behalf of her family, to all first responders, distinguished guests, and community members from Richmond, across Indiana, and across America, thank you for being here today to pay respect and honor to K-9 Officer Seara Burton. Officer Burton has had an impact on all of us in this room. She, in her own way, touched our lives and left meaningful and indelible memories for us to cherish. Today, we take this time to reflect on her life, her service, and what she means to each of us. We'll begin today's ceremony with a prayer from National Fraternal Order of Police Chaplain Rick Snyder.
God's word tells us that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. So in our grief and in our sorrow, let us now join together and turn to the Lord in prayer. Father God, we thank you for your promises, your provision, and your peace. Lord, we collectively turn our hearts to you and ask that your presence be felt by all those within the sound of my voice, those in person, those watching and listening from afar, and those who are standing with us in your Holy Spirit. Father, we thank you for blessing this family, this community, this state, and our nation with the life and the service of Seara Burton, a dedicated servant who was called by you to stand this thin blue line. This woman and officer we now pause to honor has given her all in fidelity to your cause of peace, protection, love for her neighbor, and justice, not just through her death and sacrifice, but in her life lived for others. Lord God, we have traveled to stand with this family and our sisters and brothers of the Richmond Police Department, to remember, to reflect, and to resolve ourselves before you, God. We now draw upon you as our source of strength. You, Lord, tell us, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God, your children. May your peace now fall upon Seara's family, her community, and upon her fellow officers here and all across America. I pray all of this in your holy name, Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. Amen.
If I should die and leave you for a while, be not like others, sore, undone, who weep long vigils by the silent dust. For my sake, turn again to life and smile, nerving thy heart and trembling hand to do something to comfort weaker hearts than thine. Complete these dear unfinished tasks of mine, and I, perchance, may therein comfort you. A poem from Mary Lee Hall. We come together today to grieve, to comfort one another, to celebrate a bright life, a life of service, of duty, of expressed love, and to lay to eternal rest an exemplary representative of our Richmond Police Department. K-9 Officer Seara Burton has been a shining example of a community servant, a friend to so many, a partner, a family member, and most importantly, a daughter. Today you will hear stories not only about her service to our community, but also about her personal life from those who were closest to her. It is our hope this will paint a picture of the full life Seara lived, the life she was planning, and the characteristics that made her the amazing woman that we all admired and loved. As you hear these stories, and you share in the pain of this unfathomable loss, if it is your goal to honor Seara, you must not leave here today with a heart full of anger and sadness. To do that would be the opposite of the way Seara lived her life. Seara Burton has united this community in an unbelievable way. And she did that by inspiring all of us through compassion, love, optimism, humor, and service. So today, by all means, cry with us and feel this heartbreak with us. But when these services are finished, find a positive step forward. Take from this the inspiration to serve, to stay united, and continue to support the courageous women and men who risk their lives every day to serve our communities. These are some of the ways Seara would want us to honor her. Seara Burton was sworn into service the morning of Monday, August 6, 2018. As she stepped up to the podium, there was a clear eagerness about her, a palpable excitement to start this chapter of her life. It was an attitude and outlook she carried with her through her service. As Seara prepared to take the oath of her position, her family stood by, so visibly proud and ready to lift her, support her, and be her biggest cheerleaders. It was ultimately their support that would quickly lift her within the department to become the excellent officer that we all came to interact with and respect. Within that oath comes a meaningful line, and I delivered this line to Seara that morning. Do you, Seara Burton, swear to uphold your duties as an officer of the City of Richmond Police Department without fear or favor? Seara swore to that oath, and today she has paid an ultimate sacrifice to keep her word. She made a very big promise to all of us that day, and she kept that promise. Seara had an undeniable personality. She came to work with a positive outlook, an infectious sense of humor, and an eagerness to serve. Not just on her first day, but every day she walked through the door, Seara made a commitment to invest her time, her talent, and her passion into this career in this city. And for that, we owe a debt of gratitude. Seara is not the only one we are indebted to today. When a family eagerly supports a law enforcement officer, they are also giving to us a gift. They are giving to us time with their loved one. They are giving up nights of sound sleep. And sometimes they give up the simple plans we all take for granted, only to be left with pictures and memories. For that gift, I want to say thank you to Seara's mother, Jai. You gave to us an extremely bright young woman and someone who made our community stronger like her. I want to say thank you to Amy. Iron sharpens iron, and Seara's strength was a reflection of you. Only a warrior like you could teach her to serve and fight the way she did. And I want to say thank you to Seara Neal. You gave to this community the love of your life. You all know that Seara's vehicle is sitting outside the building right now. And as we were cleaning some things up around the car, we had to get inside to move some things around. And on the dash of the car is a note from Seara Neal to Seara Burton. It says, "Have a good night at work. Be safe. I love you." She had your love and support every day. We cannot repay these gifts other than to honor her spirit by continuing to look after each other and serving our community. Seara's service to her community touched so many lives. In just 4 short years, she had risen to the rank of K-9 officer and was in every corner of Richmond connecting with people in a way only she could. I think it was one of her favorite parts of the job. Just getting to meet new people, finding a way to level with them and form a relationship. She wanted people to know she was genuine and they could trust her. Last Monday, I was out by her vehicle. The sun was going down, it was getting dark, and a young boy came up. He said he wanted to help, and he asked if he could light luminaries. He couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old. I said, "Sure thing, buddy, but only if your mom says it's okay." She said yes, and he was ready to go. But before he jumped into action, I said, "Did you know Officer Burton?" And he said, "Yeah, she came to Safety Village with her dog. And she was really nice, and I'm really sad this happened." Seara was only an officer for 4 years, and this kid was already coming to her in her time of need. Now that is a real impact of a really tremendous officer out in this community. I have no doubt that her future was bright, and the impact she was making mattered so much. In the end, Seara fought so much harder than so many of us ever could. Seara was a hero the day she displayed the courage to take her oath. She was a hero every day she put on that uniform, and she lies before us a hero today. Rest in peace, in service, and with the gratitude of the entire city. God bless Seara Burton, and God bless her family. At this time, I would like to invite Lieutenant Donnie Benedict to offer remembrances on behalf of the Richmond Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor Snow. On behalf of the Richmond Police Department, their officers, their families, and their significant others, and on behalf of our retired officers and our support staff, and most importantly, on behalf of Officer Seara Burton's family, we want to extend a most heartfelt and sincere gratitude for the overwhelming support and the acts of kindness that has been shown to both the Richmond Police Department and Officer Burton's family. We want to recognize the Indiana State Fraternal Order of Police, the Indiana State FOP Auxiliary, and a special thanks to the planning team and all the volunteers here in Richmond. To the family of the fallen Elwood officer, Noah Chanavez, we say thank you for your support for the Burton family through this time. We need to recognize and say thank you to the Indiana State Police, the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, for providing police coverage for the citizens of Richmond during this trying time. Thank you to the Reed Hospital Police for all of your support. Thank you, Reed Hospital Administration, to the doctors and skilled nursing staff of the critical care unit. You guys were amazing. I want to send out a personal thank you to the Dayton Police Department. The Dayton Police Department met Officer Burton and her family along with the officers of the Richmond Police Department, as we arrived Miami Valley Hospital on August the 10th. They never left us. They stood shoulder to shoulder with us as we stood guard at her room 24 hours a day. Thank you, Lieutenant Clark, for attending to each and every one of our needs. Thank you, Dayton Police Department. Richmond Police Department. This is a journey we have endured over the past several weeks. It's not one that we ever expected to encounter here in our small city, Richmond, Indiana. We are not naive to the fact that we are surrounded by evil and violence. We also know that evil and violence can rear its ugly head in our community, just like many other communities around this country. In fact, evil reared its ugly head in a small town of Elwood, Indiana, just a short drive northwest of Richmond, 10 days prior to Officer Burton's encounter with evil. On July 31st, 2022, Elwood police officer Noah Shanavaz was killed in the line of duty on a traffic stop just outside the town of Elwood. For the past 48 days, our officers have experienced pain and sorrow like never before. Some call this the weight of the badge. There are inspirational quotes, there are poems, and there are even songs that reference the weight of the badge. I can tell you that this badge has never weighed heavier than it does today. The weight of this badge has been nearly unbearable over the past several weeks. The pain, sorrow, and tremendous grief has weighed heavy on our hearts and our souls. It has created a gut-wrenching and deep pain within us that we will never forget. However, as I stand here before you, you should know that this storm is passing. The winds are changing. We are healing. We have never stood taller. We have never stood straighter. And by God's grace, we have never stood stronger than we do today. I encourage each and every one of you here today to look into our teary eyes and take notice of our pride, our determination to start healing our souls and our heart. Notice I said healing and not healed. Healing is a process that each one of us will navigate differently as this storm passes. Our healing has begun. Seara, your end of watch, your 1042 is complete here on earth. However, I am certain you have already marked yourself in service, 1041, beginning your tour of duty as heaven's newest guardian angel. We all know you are sitting at roll call, eagerly awaiting your next assignment. We all have confidence that you will complete every task that is laid before you without fail. You have such profound strength combined with immense grace within your heart. There are many that have strength, however, there are few that have the ability to combine strength with grace. And let's not forget that enchanting smile. With those special gifts, you will certainly impress your new watch commander as you did here on earth. Your new journey as an eternal protector and defender of those in need will be filled with many rewards and take you to places you have never dreamed of. Some will describe Seara as a warrior, a badass, a workout machine. When I was looking for a word to describe Seara, I chose the word protector. Protector, simple and concise. Protector by definition, a person or thing that protects someone or something. Seara will eternally be a protector, serving others forevermore. Seara the protector. Rest easy, our sister, and Godspeed, K-9 officer Seara Burton. Finally, let me share a short story with you. This is a story about the most valuable gift I have seen given to honor the life of Seara. On September 1st, 2022, a stranger came into the Richmond Police Department to offer a gift of kindness and love. This gift was in a wrinkled, dirty, well-used envelope. They handed the envelope to the information officer, and on the envelope was written these 4 words: "People from the street." The person explained that several of the homeless people from the city of Richmond had taken up a donation from the people that live on our streets here in Richmond, and they wanted to donate this to Seara's family. Inside this tattered envelope was 8 $1 bills. There have been many valuable gifts given in honor of Seara. However, none, and I mean none, are more valuable than the gift of 8 $1 bills in a dirty white envelope. That gift of $8 from the people who know not where they will sleep at night, have their next meal, or know whether they will be wet, dry, cold, or warm, gave a gift of love and kindness like no other. This gift of hope, love, and kindness. And Lord knows we all need some hope in our lives. As we leave this gymnasium, let us remember Seara's family, the Richmond Police Department family, and all the law enforcement officers that stand on the thin blue line. Let us take the thought of hope and move forward into tomorrow. It has indeed been my pleasure to speak with you today as we honor the life of our fallen hero. We wish you safe travels, take care of each other, and stay safe. Thank you once again on behalf of the Richmond Police Department, and God bless you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Benedict. Marion County Captain Brian Wolf has a special presentation for Officer Burton today. It's called Amazing Grace, a Policeman's Tribute.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. A woman in blue has lost her life in service of the law. The love that makes the sacrifice is the greatest love of all. A policewoman was killed today. The reason why I cannot say, I don't know why. She had to die. The girl in blue died for me and you. We must remember her too. Flags fly low, let us bow in prayer for fallen police everywhere, and remember this, that they are missed. The match burns bright like an evening star, free from a world of war.
Thank you, Captain Wolf. And now, with family remembrances, we will begin with Richmond Police Officer and Seara's stepmother, Amy Miller.
My name is Amy Miller. Phew. Seara was my stepdaughter. But I did not see her as a stepdaughter. I saw her as my daughter. I may not have given birth to her, but in my heart she was my daughter and will forever be. In the last 4 years, I was able to watch her achieve so many things. Seara had the determination and drive that all of us should strive for. When she was first hired, we had many talks about the job and what she was about to face and go through. I had no doubt in my mind that she was going to be great, and she was. Watching her come into her own and gain confidence was amazing to watch. Seara, I will miss those phone calls during her shift asking me for advice on reports and calls. I will miss our talks in the PD parking lot at the end of my shift and the beginning of hers. I will miss our FaceTimes telling each other about our crazy calls the night or day before. We could talk for hours about the job. I will miss her stopping by our house mid-shift to let Brev take a break and grab a quick bite to eat. I was so incredibly proud of Seara. I made sure to tell her that as much as I could. I hoped she knew just how proud I was of her and how much I loved her. Seara was the strongest woman I've ever known, and she recently just showed the world just how strong she was. Junior, I was honored to work beside you, and I was honored to be your bonus mom. I promise I will continue to take care of your mother and give Brev the best life ever. We will continue to love and care for baby mama. So please watch over us and rest easy, sweet girl. I love you. The next thing I'm going to read is a poem that her mom, Jai, my wife, wrote for her. It's titled My Daughter. I've loved you before I even met you. You were the first to make me a mom. When I was having bad days, you were my calm. I can't express to the world how perfect you were. Since the day you were shot, everything has been a blur. I talk to everyone about you. I was your #1 fan. I love telling people your silly stories, but God had another plan. I don't know if this pain in my heart will ever go away. I love and I miss you so much, and I will every single day. I love you forever. Your mom. Thank you. Everyone, please be safe.
We now welcome Seara's fiance and the love of her life, Seara Neal.
For those of you who do not know who I am Seara's fiance, Seara. And to make things even more complicated, we're both Seara Brooke. And would have both been Seara Brooke Burton on our wedding day. One question we always got asked was, how do people separate you guys or know who's talking to who? If you ask almost any person in Richmond, my name's actually Baby Mama, so. Our first date was at Kings Island, and it was one of the hottest days of the year. The feels like temperature was over 100. And I remember my brother saying, hopefully you like her because that'll be one long, awkward date. We spent 8 hours together and still didn't. Or what to say. I feel as if there are no amount of words that could completely describe just who Seara is and what she meant, not only to me, but so many others. Seara was the kind of person who brought joy wherever she was, and whenever she's around you, you're guaranteed to laugh and smile. I remember standing in the kitchen with her at the beginning of our relationship and having a conversation with her discussing the dangers of her career. And she asked me if I was willing to accept that being with an officer. I told her I would completely support her in her career, but even in that moment, I still felt there's no way something like this could happen to such a wonderful human. Even standing here right now, it still isn't real. Behind that badge was the woman of my dreams. A woman who could be treated and talked to in awful ways for 8 hours a day at work and could still come home and laugh and be so kind-hearted. A woman who was going to be the best mom to our future children that we already had names picked out for. A woman who never went a day without telling me just how beautiful I am and how in love she was with me. A woman who left me love notes all over the place and made me coffee every morning. Seara was my best friend, my lover, the heart of the happiest year of my life. I feel an emptiness without her here, but I will forever be thankful for the purest love she gave me and the wonderful family and friends she has that have become mine. Seara, I promise to carry you with me in my heart everywhere I go, and to love you and live for you until we meet again, my love. Thank you.
And now a special eulogy written by Jai, Seara's mom, Amy Miller's stepmom, and Seara Neal, fiance. K-9 officer Seara Burton was born December 17, 1993 in Richmond, Indiana. Seara was shot in the line of duty while assisting other officers on a traffic stop August 10, 2022. Seara proved to the entire world just how strong she was by fighting and surviving another 39 days after this horrific incident. Seara passed peacefully on September 18, 2022, with her family and fiance by her side. From the time she was born through childhood, teenage years, and into adult life, Seara carried her positive, compassionate, and happy spirit with her always. Seara was caring and regularly helping others. Seara was athletic, competitive, and determined to be the best at everything she set out to do. Growing up, she played softball, football, ran track, and was especially passionate about basketball. She made varsity basketball as a freshman in high school and even played through having torn ACLs in both knees. Seara graduated from Northeastern High School in 2012. After graduating high school, Seara began her journey in helping others. She became a fitness trainer and then went on to be a corrections officer at the Wayne County Jail. Seara then achieved her goal of becoming a police officer for the Richmond Police Department, where she served 4 years. From the moment she became an officer, her dream was to earn a K-9 handler position. She made that dream come true this March. Seara and her K-9 partner, Brev, came into their own and worked hard consistently. In just a short time, this duo was able to take large amounts of drugs off the streets of Richmond. Just last summer, Seara finally met the love of her life, Sierra Neal. Seara's friends and family had never seen her so incredibly happy. They were only 9 days from being married and starting a family. Off-duty, Seara loved laughing, gaming, traveling, lifting heavy weights, drinking coffee, eating vegan, and most importantly, spending time with her family and fiance. Seara was a bright, beautiful light in this darkening world and was selfishly taken from so many that loved and adored her. Seara's smile and laugh will live on eternally with anyone she has touched. Seara is the true definition of a warrior. We will love you until the end of time. Jai, Amy, and Seara. At this time, we will have a special song, which was Seara and Seara's favorite song together. It is by Zach Bryan, called Something in the Orange.
It'll be fine by dusk cloud, I'm telling you, baby. These things eat at your bones and drive your young mind crazy. But when you place your hand between my collar and jaw, I don't know much, but there's no weight at all. And I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. 'Cause if I say I miss you, I know that you won't. But I miss you in the mornings when I see the sun. Something in the orange tells me we're not done. Just a man, to me you're all I am. Where the hell am I supposed to go? I poison myself again. Something in the orange tells me you're never coming home. If you leave today, I'll just stare at the way the orange touches all things around. The grass, trees, and dew, how I just hate you. Please turn those headlights around. I need to hear you say you've been waiting all night. There's orange dancing in your eyes from ball black. Your voice only trembles when you try to speak. Take me back to us dancing this wood used to creep. To you I'm just a man, to me you're all I am. Where the hell am I supposed to go? I poison myself again. Something in the orange tells me you're never coming home. stare at the way the orange touches all things around. The grass, trees, and dew, how I just hate you. Please turn those headlights around. To me, you're all I am. Where the hell am I supposed to go? I poison myself again. Something in the orange tells me you're never coming home. If you leave today, I'll just stare at the way the orange touches all things around. The grass, trees, and dew, how I just hate you. Please turn those headlights around. Please turn those headlights around.
We will now offer some special remembrances, and we will begin with Richmond Police Officer Kiefer Uphouse.
Good afternoon. I'm Kiefer Uphouse. Some of you guys know me as Seara's work husband. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here to honor Seara. It really means a lot to us and the family. Seara's mere presence was inspiring. She knew her calling was to serve her community. And when her time came to do so, it was always at the highest level in all aspects. The thing about it is anybody who was around her, she expected nothing than the best. She was competent and trustworthy. She was not afraid to make a decision and stand by it. She would have nothing but the safety of her fellow officers on her mind. We spent a lot of time on the phone, almost all the time. Even if it was just at the end of shift, she would stay on the phone with me all the way out to my house in the forest after every shift to make sure I made it home to my family. She hated to lose, even in the smallest of situations, including basketball, which, mind you, she never let me forget. She was outspoken and driven in all aspects of her life. When she set her mind to do something, there was no stopping her. She had a smile and a laugh that would undoubtedly make you follow her anywhere. When she met an amazing woman, she told me there was no doubt that she was going to spend the rest of her life with her. And baby mama was her forever. She made sure that she told me that every day. She had an amazing gift to speak with people, and it did not matter the situation or age. She met my little man for the first time and treated him as if he was hers. She loved to sit and watch all the ridiculous things my wife would send videos of her and him doing on Snapchat each night on shift. Every time she was around my son, she would hold him and tell him about her wee-wee car that was just like Daddy's. It meant the world to us. I am honored and proud excuse me, to have had the opportunity to call you my partner and my best friend. I know that my son and fellow officers will forever have a guardian angel. Thank you for everything. I miss you. I love you, baby girl. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Officer Uphouse. We'd now like to invite Muncie Police Detective Mariah Copeland to share some thoughts.
Good afternoon. My name is Allison Compton.
And I'm Mariah Copeland.
And 3.5 years ago, we made up 2/3 of room 111 at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. On February 4th, 2019, we walked in the doors of ILEA with no idea what to expect. Personally, I was terrified. They lined us up in alphabetical order, and as we stood, the drill instructors walked around and shouted at random basics, demanding they recite the meaning of close order drill, which was a short paragraph you were told to memorize before class started. I remember shaking so badly that I felt like my whole body was vibrating. Seara happened to be standing right in front of me, and I took comfort in seeing that her shoulders were shaking as badly as I knew mine were. During a break period, we were able to go to our rooms and talk with what would become our roommates for the next 16 weeks. There had somehow been a typo on our room name card, and they had spelled Seara's name S-E-R-A. They eventually corrected it, but I called her Seara for 2 weeks before she finally corrected me.
We went through what we called the suck together. Our friendship grew, later to become the 3 best friends that anyone could have. We made our memories, jumping out of closets, scaring the life out of each other, trying Seara's weird vegan food, and making funny videos.
I remember coming home on the weekends and telling my parents about our week at the academy. I would talk about the pranks that Mariah, Seara, and I had pulled on each other, times in class where we were fighting to not get caught laughing, and the ridiculous notes with illustrations we would pass each other. I distinctly remember my mom asking me, "Isn't police academy not supposed to be fun?" I suppose for some basics this was the case, but this did not apply to room 111. The 3 of us instantly connected and became friends. Every experience was fun because I got to go through them with my friends. Even the week of DT training, where Seara literally beat me up 4 days straight. When people speak of her strength, I can vouch for that.
There was a break period where 3 of us were hanging out in our room. Many of you know this story, but Seara happened to be shopping online for tactical pants on her phone. At one point, she said, "Well, that's weird." And we both asked what she meant, and she stated, "They have pants on here, and the color is odd green." Alice and I instantly started laughing, and for the rest of the academy, we referred to OD green as odd green.
During our last week at the academy, as one final friendship bonding moment, I rearranged our bedroom furniture and pushed all 3 of our twin-size beds together to create Mega Bed. Don't worry, there is video evidence of this. All I can say is, thank God that there was no room inspection that day.
We graduated in May of 2019, and each went to our separate departments. We had a running Snapchat group message called Room 111, where we would talk daily. We often had late-night 3-way FaceTime calls and met up for dinner. We would tell each other about different calls we'd been on and kept each other updated on our personal lives. We never saw each other as much as we wanted, but we made it work.
I still remember when Seara told us about this girl she had been seeing, and she told us how she knew, this one is different. I think it was all but 2 weeks later she told us she knew that she was going to marry this girl. Some time went by, they got engaged, and Seara finally got the K-9 partner she dreamed of. She was the happiest we'd ever seen her. We got to know baby mama, and we understood why our Seara loved her so much. She was a wonderful person who supported our friend in every way, and I'm so glad that they both got to experience the kind of love that they shared.
Seara was the most loving person. I remember a time when we were all supposed to hang out, but I was sick and couldn't make it. And a few hours later, I heard a knock on my front door. Who was it? None other than Seara, who drove over an hour to bring me chicken nuggets. We all had our struggles. Sorry. We all had our struggles, but it didn't matter what Seara was going through. She always made time to talk and be there for me, and I honestly don't think that I would be the person that I am today without her friendship. She was the most unselfish person and always wanted to make sure that we were okay, regardless of what she was going through. I couldn't have asked for a better friend to be a part of my life. We were fortunate enough to be able to get dinner together while Seara was in K-9 training, and we got to meet Brev. We took several pictures together, and at one point I accidentally hit record instead of taking a photo. But I couldn't be more thankful for that now, because this short video catches the most accurate representation of our friendship, with the three of us laughing at ourselves. We both have watched this video over and over again within the last month.
There isn't enough time in the day to be able to explain the kind of person Seara was. She was a badass. You will hear that from everyone. Strong, a fighter, respected. This is all true. But we were lucky enough to get to see a side of her that not everyone got to see. If you had a relationship with Seara, whether it was as a family member or a friend, you got 100% of her. I hate hugs, hate them. But one of my favorite things about Seara was the hug I would get when I hadn't seen her in a while. You could legitimately feel how much she loved you. As strong as she was willing to fight, she loved her people even stronger. As bad as we all hurt right now, I can guarantee not a single person here would wish that they had never met her. If you were lucky enough to truly know her, then like me, you're a better person for it.
Seara, Bub, Buddy, I wish I could talk to you again and tell you about all the things and just crack up like we used to. To call you and hear, "Hey, Bub," just making that buddy check to catch up and share the tea of what was going on in our lives. You will forever be missed, but I know that you will always be with us.
I will think about you every time I max out at the gym, every time I sit down in the tattoo chair, and every time I wear odd green. I promise I'll love your family, I will love baby mama, and I'll do my best to honor you in everything that I do. I love you.
Love you, Bub. Thank you.
Don't stop crying, you'll be alright. Just take my hand, hold it tight. I will protect you from all around you. I will be here, don't you cry. For I'm so small, you seem so strong. My arms will hold you safe and warm. This bond between us can't be broken. I will be here, don't you cry. 'Cause you'll be in my heart. Yes, you'll be in my heart. From this day on,
And now to offer a benediction, we invite Chaplain Rick Snyder back to the podium.
As we prepare to depart and go our separate ways, let us join together one more time to be united in prayer. Father God, we thank you for this life. We thank you for bringing Seara not only into this world, but giving and sharing her heart with us. Father, we cry out from the deep of our hearts with prayers. May you find them acceptable in your sight. Your word tells us that you prepare a table before us in the presence of our enemies. And we know, Lord, that it is the enemy, the thief, that comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But you, God, you are life and life more abundant. Father, we know that you don't cause bad things to happen, but you can use them for your good. So we collectively now join today as a beacon of light to be viewed as a witness to your goodness, your righteousness, and your promises. We pray that you restore our soul as we leave here today and lead us in your paths of righteousness. Father, it would be easy to simply turn and walk away in this time of challenge that we find ourselves within. Father, you have called us to stand this line, and so we stand. We stand together, united in the call that you've placed upon our life. We remain faithful to your cause. So may we recommit ourselves to stand this line so that the deaths of our fallen will not be in vain. And may we depart different than the way we have arrived today. The lieutenant said that we are in need of hope. And Lord, I pray that anyone that hears my voice knows that they can find their hope in the supreme sacrifice of your Son, Jesus the Christ, and what he did at the cross. Through his death, burial, and resurrection, we can have hope beyond the grave, and we are grateful for that. I pray now in his name, the Prince of Peace, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Please depart today with Seara's passion for service in your heart. And thank you all so much for being here to honor the life and the service of this hero, K-9 officer Seara Burton. We now release law enforcement officers and our public safety family, and ushers will dismiss you. Thank you.
You are watching continuous coverage of the funeral of Richmond police officer Seara Burton, an emotional service in her honor. About an hour long, 7 speakers, 3 musical tributes, a poem, and the power of humanity played out there in Richmond as we heard about the officer and the many lives that she touched in her 4 years on this department. There was not a dry eye as people just recounted the lives that she touched in the short time that she served her community there in Richmond in so many different ways. Among them, of course, the story from the lieutenant who recounted how the police department, Lauren, back on September the 1st, days after the officer was shot, how a stranger came with an envelope to police headquarters, and the envelope read, "People from the street," 4 powerful words. In that envelope, 8 $1 bills from the homeless people in that community. And as I think about that, I'm thinking, wow, the gift of love and kindness. And today was about faith as well. And people of faith are always reminded that to always remember the least of these and to treat them as royalty. Seara Burton did that for that community in the homeless, that with their simple $8, they thought, that's the gift we want to give to the family. That is powerful.
That was such a powerful moment, as you said, Raphael, and the mayor mentioned that she just made it her mission to talk to anybody. She had that infectious smile. They mentioned a number of people talked about that. Just her personality. She was tough but lovable and had a charismatic personality and a laugh. You also heard Lieutenant Benedict talk about the weight of the badge today, and as we watch these members of public safety file out here today, you know, I'm sure they have tears in their eyes. This is a tough, difficult day for them, especially people from her own department, the Richmond Police Department. He says, this badge has never weighed heavier than today. However, the storm is passing. He says, we are healing, and he says, we've never stood stronger than we stand today. In a little bit longer, once the procession files out, we know that we'll hear her final 10:42 call, and Lieutenant Benedict did add that your time here is complete on earth, but now you're heading to your next assignment. A guardian angel waiting eagerly for your next assignment in heaven, watching over them. So I just think that was a powerful moment as well. She just has that strength and also the grace that comes with it.
And we heard the lieutenant talking about that they've not healed yet, that this is a process, that they are healing. And so this ceremony also serves as a beacon of hope for all throughout central Indiana as people gather today to watch this ceremony, honoring this officer. The community is really saying to the family, you are not alone. We are grateful that your daughter, Seara Burton, answered the call to service. We are inspired by her strength and her will to live. And we are fiercely all reminded on this Monday that in these dark moments, as we heard the lieutenant remind us, evil will not win. And today, as all those officers, as you are now seeing our continuous coverage here at WRTV of the funeral of Seara Burton, these folks have all gathered together to remind us of the good, of the hope, of the possibility that all of us have as we do our jobs every single day.
And we know our Caitlin Kendall has been watching this view from outside as people are now filing out of the building and getting ready for the funeral procession. Caitlin, what's going on from your point of view?
Yeah, it was compelling inside to see the number of people, community members coming to show support. Of course, everyone is starting to line up right now so that Officer Burton's casket can be carried out and put so that they can take it to the 1042 call. I want to step out of frame here so that you can get a look at the K-9 officers. They're just lining the pathway that officer's body will be taken and put inside the hearse. It's compelling here. You normally will see as officers lining right here. You will see officers lining so that they can pay their final respects to Officer Burton before her body is loaded into the back of the hearse. It's different when a K-9 officer is killed in the line of duty. It is K-9 handlers that are the last people Officer Burton will walk past. And the final person to walk out with Officer Burton will be her family. Of course, those pallbearers are her fellow officers. And K-9 Brev will be with his handler until the very end. You can hear the whimpers of the dogs who are sitting there. Of course, these K-9s being told to sit by their handlers so that they can pay their respects to not only Officer Seara Burton, but to K-9 Brev, who lost his handler in the line of duty. Wasn't a dry eye inside the gymnasium today as her fiance and her family spoke about who Seara was outside of the uniform and who she was inside of her uniform. You know, they talked about her nickname from her fiance. She called her Baby Mama, and everyone kind of chuckled there. One of her fellow officers, one of her partners, talked about just how loving Officer Burton was to the community that she served and to his family and to her fellow officers, caring about her fellow officers, making sure they make their way home. What you will see here in just a few, they will do a file by. Every officer will walk by the casket one more time to pay those final respects, and then Officer Burton will be carried out with the pallbearers, family surrounded, and you'll hear the drums. The community coming to pay their support, pay their respects to Officer Burton. Of course, they will all say their final goodbyes as Officer Burton is put into the casket. You can see K-9 Brev is actually making his way back inside here. This is K-9 Brev. That handler has had K-9 Brev all day. He is walking down the line of K-9 dogs now. He'll go inside so that he can walk out with Officer Seara Burton's body one final time. Raphael?
The images this morning from Richmond as the community pays their respects to Officer Seara Burton. As you can see, the officers now leaving where the funeral was held has come to an end. Officers getting ready for that procession. Laura?
And Raphael, we heard from Sierra Neal. She was Seara Burton's fiance. The pair were in love and actually said to be married just a few days after Seara Burton was shot. So that's also part of this that was so heartbreaking, just hearing from her would-be wife. She says they would both be Sierra Brooke Burton on their wedding day. She said the two just had an instant connection. She was so brave to get up at the podium and share her thoughts and what the pair meant to each other. Let's take a listen.
Behind that badge was the woman of my dreams. A woman who could be treated and talked to in awful ways for 8 hours a day at work and could still come home and laugh and be so kind-hearted. A woman who was going to be the best mom to our future children that we already had names picked out for. A woman who never went a day without telling me just how beautiful I am and how in love she was with me. A woman who left me love notes all over the place and made me coffee every morning. Sierra was my best friend, my lover, the heart of the happiest year of my life. I feel an emptiness without her here, but I will forever be thankful for the purest love she gave me and the wonderful family and friends she has that have become mine. Sierra, I promise to carry you with me in my heart everywhere I go, and to love you and live for you until we meet again, my love.
Love and sorrow on display on this Monday, the words of Seara Neal. Her fiancé, Officer Seara Burton, was shot and then died weeks later in Richmond. As we continue our live coverage this morning, I want to share some words with you from the wedding photographer who was expecting, of course, to take pictures of the couple on August the 19th. That's 9 days after the shooting in Richmond. The photographer posted on Facebook these words. I'm going to quote her this morning. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she wrote on August the 19th. In fact, the photographer says that Officer Burton texted her 1 hour before the shooting on August the 10th to finalize some wedding details. The photographer closes up her Facebook posting by saying these words, "I have felt lost. I have felt heartbroken." Lost and heartbroken is what a community feels this morning, as well with a great sense of hope, because this officer, with her 4 years of service, made people smile and brought them together. An officer who had all the best in technology. She had a gun, she had a taser, but her biggest weapon, Lauren, was her strength, her grace, and her smile, and with that, she was able to win people over, and with that, she brought people together. That was Seara Burton.
Our own Nicole Griffin was inside of the gymnasium here while this funeral was taking place. We know it was emotional watching it. Nicole, what can you tell us from what happened there inside?
It was a very, very emotional. We were sitting there watching, and officers filed in at one after another, and it was just very moving to see so many officers come from the entire state, even from Indiana, Ohio. I saw Kokomo, Muncie, Carmel, many different officers there, and just to see them all file in and file by her casket, and then when everyone took their place, the emotional moments that really stand out to me was hearing from her fiance and her stepmother, and she said she never thought of her as being a stepdaughter. She thought of her as her own daughter. She said she was so proud of her, and she said she's going to miss their talks.
Yeah.
Their talks that they would have in the police department parking lot.
They were on different shifts.
Yeah.
And they talked about how, she called her bonus mom. She wasn't a stepmom to her, and they related both on the badge and off the badge.
And she just said she was such a strong woman, a woman that she just feels so happy to know. She's so proud of her, and she finally was able to achieve her dream and able to become a police officer just 4 years ago.
Yeah, she was a police officer just 4 years ago. Of course, became a K-9 officer not long ago, but it was something that her stepmom said she'd always wanted to achieve. It was her lifelong goal to become a K-9 officer, and she was grateful that she had the opportunity to see her accomplish that goal.
And I'll tell you, when she got up there and started speaking, I know she was having a tough time because she knows all the emotions. Everyone, you just looked around, everyone had tears in their eyes. Me, myself, tears in my eyes. And then following that, for her fiance to get up there, she talked about their first date at Kings Island.
It was the hottest day ever.
Right, and someone told her, hopefully you like this girl because you're going to be there for a while with her. And she just said Seara brought so much joy and laughter to everyone's life who knew her. And as you all mentioned, for her to get up there and be able to speak and to be able to share these memories, it was such a special moment during the service today. And she talked about how she was excited for her to be a mom one day. They already had their children's names picked out. She was best friend.
Yeah, talked about her being her best friend, talked about the little things she would do for her, making her coffee every morning, making sure she told her how much she loved her, how beautiful she was. I think it just speaks to the character of who Officer Burton is and who she was to not only her family but the community. They spoke on that a lot, about how she just made people around her feel loved.
And there was a moment during the service where they played their favorite song.
Yeah.
And it was called Something in Orange by Zach Bryan. And I gotta tell you, when they played that, there were so many emotions coming over everyone in the room, because it's also the song that her fiance put to a TikTok video that she posted that I've watched a few times, where she was wearing a wedding dress in the hospital. I know you've seen it as well.
Yeah, and she walked into the hospital room, and you can see the hallways lined in that TikTok video with officers and with medical personnel. It's compelling because 9 days before their wedding, she was shot in the line of duty. And what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life was the day that she was sitting by the hospital with her fiance.
And I know her fiance mentioned that they had a conversation early on about the risk that they take in this job. And I think she said, she asked her, are you willing to?
Yeah, will you accept that?
Right.
What comes with this job, the chance with this job, that when you put that uniform on, you put that badge on, there's a chance you might not come home. And she said 100%.
Definitely.
I support you in what you want to do, which obviously anybody who has family in law enforcement knows that risk you're taking when you say goodbye, that it could be the last time. And it was something that Seara's fiance, Seara, said, you know, I accepted it.
And they were both going to be Seara Burton.
Yeah, the same name.
The same middle name. As you can see now, we have all the officers inside that are filing outside right now. This is Richmond High School, where they will be waiting for the casket with Seara Burton to come out shortly.
Yeah, the casket being carried by several fellow law enforcement members, Richmond police officers, and everyone out here. Of course, they will stand and salute when Seara's casket reaches the door. There are several police officers. Some of those pallbearers are Kiefer, who obviously spoke during the funeral. He spoke about how Officer Burton was his best friend, how she loved his son.
He said she was outspoken, she was driven. He said that she would often call him and make sure he got home, talk to him the entire way until he got to his house to make sure. And he ended his speech today saying, I miss you. And that was such a tough moment to see, you know, a strong officer up there with so many emotions.
There's something compelling, I think, seeing officers with tears in their eyes. You know, you put on this strong personality, this brave personality every day you put on that uniform, and to see the tears in officers' eyes, I think it speaks to the character of Seara and the lives that she touched.
Another moment we learned today was they nicknamed Seara Neal Baby Mama, and you heard that over and over during the service, and that was kind of a nice lighthearted moment, and just all her friends and family saying that they loved that she got to experience that happiness with her. And she was somebody that just really put a smile on her face and the love of her life, so that was special to learn about as well.
It was very special. I think a lot of moments that stick out are the ones that talk about Seara outside of who she was as a police officer, because that's something that a lot of people don't think of, right? You just see a police officer and you don't think about who they are outside of the uniform. Someone's wife, someone's daughter, someone's friend.
Yeah, and she even talked about, 8 hours of your day you can go be talked to any kind of way, but you still come home. She still came home and she was still very kind and loving, and that just spoke to the person that she was. I know they talked about she loved to work out, she loved to play basketball, she loved to play softball, football, track. She was an athlete, and she wanted to serve her community, and that's what she did.
That's what she did to the very end.
And she wanted to be a K-9 officer, and there was that special moment when all the K-9 officers walked in one by one with their K-9s by their side, and then at the very end, after they filed out, Brev came in, and I couldn't quite see because I was in the back, but you could just see everyone just locked eyes on what was happening, and he went up around the casket, and strong moments like that really stand out from today's service.
Something compelling that you can kind of hear in the background is the whimpers of all the K-9 dogs. Obviously, these dogs are also officers themselves, So to see the dogs lined up, to be able to pay respects not only to Officer Burton, but to K-9 Brev, who lost his handler.
Definitely. Such a strong moment there today. And to see these officers coming from all over. I mentioned Kokomo, Elwood, Hammond, Carmel, Dayton, Marion. These officers have traveled very far to be here today.
And also in the crowd is Officer Noah Shanavez's family.
Yes. They're
Something
here
that...
today, and they thanked them during the service
They thanked
as
them
well.
during the service. Obviously, this family going through the unimaginable very quickly, close to when
I think
Officer
they said
Burton's
10
family.
days before that was when he was shot.
Yeah, so obviously just moments from now, Officer Burton will be brought out in her casket. The pallbearers, all Richmond police officers. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio, but it's a very emotional, quiet moment out here right now.
Very quiet.
Caitlin,
Go ahead, man.
Caitlin Kendall and Nicole Griffin live in Richmond, where it just seems like a steady stream of law enforcement officers making their way outside of the high school to pay their respects and do that salute. And Raphael, one of the most important people we saw there on that stage in uniform was her bonus mother.
Her bonus mom, Amy Miller, who of course also serves on the Richmond Police Department. She, of course, held back tears. It was a difficult moment for her. It has been difficult for her for the last several weeks. Let's listen to what she had to say moments ago here on WRTV.
Seara was the strongest woman I've ever known. And she recently just showed the world just how strong she was. Junior, I was honored to work beside you. And I was honored to be your bonus mom. I promise I will continue to take care of your mother and give Brev the best life ever. We will continue to love and care for Abby Mama. So please watch over us and rest easy, sweet girl. I love you.
There was a lot of room, a lot of love in that room. That's Officer Amy Miller, the bonus mom, stepmom to Officer Burton, and of course, as you heard there, a very emotional message to her as she was trying to fight back the tears, as she was trying to just remind the public as to why these images you'll see here in a second as these officers are outside, what this all means to the family is, of course, the power of not only their love, but the power of public service. And what you're seeing now really play out before us here in Richmond outside the high school as we wait for the casket to come out for the procession is this image here will help the family with that healing process. They will not heal because of these images, but they will remember every step along the way as they see these officers stand by their side and say that they are not alone. They are not alone, as you can see from what we're seeing right now, live images from, let's give you a view from our Skycam 6 pictures there. You can see from our drone. You can see the people just waiting outside. We do also expect to see a number of people throughout the procession route. A number of schools are dismissing early today to allow students and staff to say their goodbyes, to say their farewells to the officer. These are powerful images on this Monday morning.
That's right. We know that South Henry Schools is one of those schools that is letting students out early, not only due to the traffic impact of all of the cars going through US 40, but they also put out a message saying that they want parents to use this opportunity to teach their children respect for those who selflessly serve our communities, and someone like Seara who's made the ultimate sacrifice for our safety. They say that they would love the Titan family to be well represented along that US 40 route to pay their respects to Miss Burton and her family. Again, that was South Henry School Corporation, and that's why they're letting out early today.
You are seeing images continue to come in. The live coverage continues of the funeral for Officer Seara Burton, which just ended a few minutes ago. We are getting for that procession as officers are lining up, and we are waiting for the casket to come out of the high school. And then there'll be a lengthy procession that could take up to 3 to 4 hours before it arrives here in Indianapolis. Of course, she will be laid to rest at Crown Hill Cemetery later this afternoon. She will be laid to rest in the Heroes Public Safety section at Crown Hill. As you can see these live images coming in. I mean, the one thing, as we prepare for these moments and as we see these live images, we heard a lot about music, Lauren, and we try to prepare, really capture the spirit, the amazing spirit of this officer who I am told by talking to friends loved the music of Fleetwood Mac. A group from the 70s and the 80s. And for those of you who love music, they sang songs like Don't Stop and Dreams and Go Your Own Way. But it's the words of Don't Stop that caught my attention as I looked at the lyrics. The beginning words of that song, which I will not sing for you, but here are how the words go, and they capture the essence of who this officer is and was. If you wake up and don't want to smile, if it takes you just a little while, open your eyes and look at the day. You'll see things a different way. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. And for this officer who impacted the lives of an 8-year-old boy who wanted to do a luminary after her death, who impacted the lives of the homeless, was always thinking about tomorrow. And music sometimes brings us all together. The music of Fleetwood Mac, obviously, is something that she and Seara enjoyed listening to. It brought them together.
And we're continuing to see the folks filing out of the gymnasium there, Raphael. It's difficult, any of these officer funerals, but something about a K-9 officer and seeing Brev walk up to the casket was just extra emotional, I feel like, for me anyways. I talked to a high school friend of mine who's also a K-9 officer here in Johnson County about just what it means to be a K-9 officer, what it means for Seara to be in this line of work. And he told me that just being a handler puts you in a select group. Not every officer gets the opportunity to be a K-9 officer. He says you work with your dog every single day. When you get home and you take off your vest, you don't relax, you're not off the job, you're still working with that dog. He says that sometimes you spend more time with your dog than with your own family. So it's no doubt that Seara and her dog K-9 Brev were close. She became a K-9 officer just this past March, and sounds like she was doing so well from the folks we heard today from her department. So we know that the gentleman I talked to said, you never want to lose a fellow officer, but in that small group of people here in central Indiana who are K-9 officers, this loss hits especially hard because he knows how much of a 24/7 commitment Seara made to be with her dog Brev and to do good work in the streets of Richmond.
You're seeing these live images from our Skycam 6. As you can see, these are all the vehicles that presumably will be part of the procession, and that is why this will take possibly 3 to 4 hours to get to Indianapolis. But that is a show of support. Those are not just vehicles. That's a show of love. For a brotherhood, a sisterhood that stands together at this moment, but also a community that will also line up along the streets. As you can see, they're getting ready for that procession. We are waiting for the casket to exit Richmond High School. As we heard, she served 4 years with the Richmond Police Department. She's known as Badge 140. Her end of watch, of course, something that was very tough for the department and for her family. And so as we gather today, as we see this all on display, it is a touching way to honor the life of a woman who, at 28 years old, did so much and touched so many different lives.
Now, after the casket is escorted Raphael out to the coach and this funeral, this long procession that could go on for nearly 9 miles or more is set to begin. We know it's going to leave Richmond High School there and kind of go around the curve and head north. And to there, they'll go to the Richmond Police Department for her final 1042 call. As she's going through Richmond, she's going past local businesses, homes, neighborhoods that she served during her time as an officer here in Richmond. She'll go under the garrison flag at First Street, which is symbolic. It'll be held up by fire trucks there on the street. They'll head south to 5th Street and then on Historic National Road, or US 40 as we know it. And Raphael, this is actually the first federally funded road in US history that they believed would unify our young country. And it's kind of symbolic because today Hoosiers are going to come together along that route, unify, and honor the sacrifice of this young hero.
The great Hoosier poet James Whitcomb Riley, who many of us read when we're in school, reminds us in his own words, to make the world a friendly place, one must show it a friendly face. That was Seara Burton, who captures the words of that famous Hoosier poet. Today people are learning more about the face that was on the streets for 4 years and found a way to connect people, to get them the things that they needed. As you heard from, as he called himself, the work husband, Officer Kiefer Uphouse. He just choked up as he reminded people that she had an amazing gift to speak to people, and he was honored and proud to call her my partner and my best friend. He closed his remarks by saying, "I love you, baby girl." An emotional 1-hour ceremony that is just beginning. Our colleague, Nikki Dementri, I believe, is live and ready to just share with us. Nikki, you have been on the scene now for quite a bit. Give us an idea, Nikki, what you're seeing. And Nikki, we may break away from you if we see the casket come out. We have Skycam 6 up in the air. So if we interrupt you, we apologize early on.
Just let me know, Raphael, whenever. We have been out here for quite some time. And something that struck me is that the silence that is here, the hugging, the crying. You can see it's really windy outside, and there is sound and music, and there's a wind chime over there, right in front of Officer Burton's car. And that is something I've talked with so many people standing here, have heard time and time again, just that beautiful song of the wind chime taking us through this morning. You can see folks are lined up here in front of Richmond Police Department. They've been out all morning. They're neighbors, they're strangers, there's family, there's friends here. A whole host of people are here for one reason, to pay their respects
So Officer Seara Burton and her K-9 partner Brev. So many people have talked about Brev here. They're coming out, they're writing messages. You can see on the sidewalk here, messages of just hearts, messages of why we're here. I want to bring in Brenda, though, for a second here. We just spoke. She's here with Izzy. Izzy's just 9. He doesn't have school today. Brenda, you talked to me about the importance of being out here. And you don't have to physically be here, but you felt you had to come. Yeah. Why?
Because it's showing support. Our community has been injured. This has been a life strain on most of us, and this young lady gave her life for us. We don't know what would have happened if she hadn't have been there that day, and I wish she hadn't have been. I don't want anyone to have gone through what she went through, and I believe in God, and they said that we shall be called the children of God, the peacemakers, and she was certainly a peacemaker. She stood for this community. She was upstanding and young, and so many things went through my mind, and I thought, I've just got to come and say what I feel, and that is in being here personally to just say, we love you, thank you for what you gave your all. You gave your all, and her family needs us to know that we love and support them. The police officers need to know that we are supporting them as well.
One thing, you and I talked about, so many people, you yourself said, Seara would give anything for anyone. Yes. And we see the line of folks around us and gathering. Do you feel that shows that, the community is there for their families?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. We've had fundraisers. I participated in that. But most of all, they need a hug. They need a smile. And they're waiting on the real comfort to come through God himself. And I believe they are God-like people. And I haven't heard anything derogatory. I don't want to hear that. I want us to be here to say we love you. We're going to honor you for what you did for us. And we appreciate you. Appreciation and kindness go a long way with me. Every day I give Izzy a word when he's getting on the bus to go to school. I give him a word for the day. And one of the words that I've said the most has probably been kind. Be kind today. Show somebody some kindness. And I think that's what we're doing here. For the people that aren't here to say it, they're probably at home watching on television, or they're still at the high school coming this way. And I just want to say myself, Amy Miller, I became acquainted with her. She's Seara's family. And many of the officers I know on a name basis. And we're a small community, but we're going to build it up, and we're going to be Richmond Police Department strong.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
I think you did a beautiful job, and you are saying what so many have said to me throughout this day. Brenda, I thank you so much for talking to us this morning. I want to bring us a little bit, just show a little bit of what's going on, just the amount of people that are here. It's growing by the second. We're waiting for a shuttle to come from the funeral services as well right now, and more people by the hour are coming and paying their respects. I see over my shoulder here, there's someone who's watching the funeral service as we're standing here, and they're plugged in, making sure they know everything that is going on at this moment.
Nikki, thank you so much. Our live coverage continues here. After the funeral, of course, now we're waiting for the procession for Officer Seara Burton. We're waiting for the casket to exit the high school and then into the funeral coach for that procession. You can see the line of K-9 officers that are standing by for that part of the ceremony. We'll bring that to you. It is a poignant moment, but we want to make sure we bring it to you live so you can just let the pictures speak for themselves. I think one of our colleagues said it best. It's the silence that sometimes provide the best pictures, sometimes fill in those words that really touch the heart and touch our emotions and tell us exactly what's happening. You don't need me to talk about it. You can just see it for yourself. And as we continue to watch these pictures, I should point out that Lauren had a chance to speak to one of her supervisors last night, and he wanted me to know and to share with you at home that he thought that, as we heard, Seara was always cheerful and positive. She was liked by her peers, and overall, she was a good officer. He described her as a cop's cop. And I said, well, what does that mean, a cop's cop? He said, someone who enjoyed the job, someone who was part of the community, someone who knew the rules, but also knew how to talk talk to people. So that supervisor was so happy to share these words with me last night and wanted me to share those with you at home. But we've heard them already from so many people this morning. Again, our continuing coverage here outside of Richmond High School, Skycam 6 up in the air. Let's take these pictures live as we now await the casket to come out of the high school.
It's still in the commercial.
No, we're hearing commercials. You can see Officer Burton's casket being carried out right now and loaded into the coach. Her family standing there along with 7 of her fellow Richmond police officers. From here, all officers are at attention to pay their final respects to an officer who laid it all on the line. K-9 Brev is standing just behind the coach here. Of course, he has been taken care of by a K-9 officer from Richmond Police Department who's been handling him since Officer Burton was shot in the line of duty. It's a very quiet moment. We'll just take in the silence for a minute. The coach doors were just shut as Officer Burton's casket was loaded into the back of the coach. All officers standing at attention. They've just been released. You see the honor guard pulling their flags down. From here, the procession will start. All officers will head to their cars, where all the officers will start the procession to the Richmond Police Department for that final call. I can tell you right now, it's quiet. You can hear a pin drop in this silence. I think it speaks to the magnitude, just how somber this day is. Every officer running through their minds right now, obviously paying their respects to Officer Burton. But you know that could be you. When you put on that uniform, you risk that every single day. You can see her family is standing at the back of the coach. You can see the mayor, the police chief, all with tears in their eyes, obviously laying to rest their daughter, their fellow officer, their friend.
And the family has to feel the support right now in this moment, as difficult as it is to see these officers from across the state, from across state lines even here, showing them support in this moment. One thing that was mentioned during the funeral service, Richmond Lieutenant Donnie Benedict said the badge weighs heavy. They've gone through weeks and weeks of pain, but right now here today the healing begins. As they begin the procession, they will be able to take that next step forward in this journey that has been weeks long.
And hundreds of officers out here today to pay their respects. A helicopter flying above right now. All of these officers out here, fellow brothers and sisters in blue, green, and brown, all here to pay their respects. All officers were just dismissed from here. They will all get in their cars and prepare for that procession. Of course, it's a long procession, but one that will show support, one that will show just how much this officer meant to this community.
And WRTV will continue to bring you that coverage. As we showed you earlier, we have Nikki Dementry there preparing for that final 1042 call, where Seara Burton will be told, we'll take it from here. It'll be her final call. We will bring that to you live here. You're seeing all the officers head to their cruisers now. They're parked all around this parking lot here at Richmond High School, as they came here today to pay respect for their sister in blue.
Something you'll notice on all of these officers' badges is a white carnation that's hung upside down. The white carnation, of course, has a lot of symbolism behind it. Police officer wives and significant others actually spend hours preparing these carnations. The white carnation has a red dot with marker drawn in the middle of it. The white carnation symbolizing good service, a good time on the job. The red obviously signifying the bloodshed of Officer Seara Burton, who was killed in the line of duty. Of course, all these officers with those white carnations will lay them on the casket when they walk past it one final time down in Indianapolis.
Yes, and we will bring that to you live as well. We will pick up that coverage when the procession makes its way to Indianapolis later today, so make sure to stick with WRTV throughout the day as we continue to honor the life of Officer Seara Burton.
You can just see the different departments on all these badges. You see Carmel, you see the Marion County Sheriff's Department, you see the Dayton Police Department. Everywhere you look, you see a different agency.
And during the service today, the Richmond Police thanked the Dayton Police Department for never leaving their side during this whole entire process, these weeks of pain, as Seara fought for her life.
39
days. And they said that's just a testament to show how strong of a woman that she was.
They talked about how she's a fighter.
Right.
She fought to the very end. It's compelling to hear and to see the number of people whose lives she impacted. Those who knew her, those who don't know her.
I can tell you how emotional it was when the family walked into the gymnasium today, just to look them in their eyes and see the pain that they've experienced through this entire process, and just to know that they're coming here today to honor Seara and the service she was committed to giving to this community, but then to also know this will be the day that they say goodbye. It was very, very difficult to look them in the eye and know how much they're hurting in this moment.
And you talked about it a little bit. Obviously, nothing's going to bring Seara back. You can't get that bit of closure, if you will, but they can start to feel a little sense of love. You can see right here the family is being hugged by fellow officers. And the woman in blue here, she lost her husband in the line of duty in 2000. She's been by Seara's fiance, Seara, all day. she's obviously been through this before. It's something, it's a line that people get connected through, one that nobody ever wants to have. But it's what these family members and these close friends who are right here have in common.
It's a group no one wants to be a part of, that's for sure, but we do appreciate her service and for laying it all on the line and for protecting this community of Richmond. You can see there her stepmother.
Being comforted by fellow officers. And that's something that I think has been compelling through all of this. Her stepmom on the force with her, a fellow officer. You know, the Richmond Police Department isn't a huge police department. They only have a handful of officers. I think I counted 89 when I was inside the department yesterday. It's a small number of officers. A loss like this, obviously, it's going to impact everyone. But a loss like this, from not only her fellow officer, but her daughter. She called her daughter. She's my daughter to me.
Right.
I might have the title stepmom, but I'm her bonus mom. It's compelling.
There wasn't a dry eye in the room when she began speaking today. That was the moment where I really just started bawling, because it's just so sad to know she's going to miss their FaceTime. She's going to miss those moments where they got to chat after their shifts, in between their shifts, and just such compelling sound from all of them today.
You know, these officers are preparing for a very long procession. Of course, this procession will take Seara through the streets that she served.
Right.
They will drive her through Richmond one final time. Of course, they'll go to the Richmond police station. From there, they'll do their final call, which is signing her off for the last time. The significance behind that 1042 call that we'll have here in just a short while is that Seara never got to clock off for the final time. And so they'll do it from here. They're telling her, we've got it from here. We'll continue to protect and serve the community that family and friends have said meant so much to her.
We'll send it back to the studio. Raphael, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Caitlin and Nicole, for your observations and insights on this solemn day in central Indiana. Our Skycam 6 continues to bring you live coverage and live images outside of Richmond High School after that funeral service for Officer Seara Burton this morning into the afternoon.
It was such a powerful moment to see Brev, her K-9, leading her casket out to the coach, and then her family closely behind, and then all the officers standing at salute as that moved past them. We know that she'll have a smile and a laugh that will live on eternally. And Lieutenant Donnie Benedict, he also said she will be an eternal protector. He said protector was the word that he would use to describe her. Let's listen into a really memorable moment from his speech at the funeral today.
Finally, let me share a short story with you. This is a story about the most valuable gift I have seen given to honor the life of Seara. On September 1st, 2022, a stranger came into the Richmond Police Department to offer a gift of kindness and love. This gift was in a wrinkled, dirty, well-used envelope. They handed the envelope to the information officer, and on the envelope was written these 4 words: people from the street. The person explained that several of the homeless people from the city of Richmond had taken up a donation from the people that live on our streets here in Richmond, and they wanted to donate this to Seara's family. Inside this tattered envelope was 8 $1 bills. There have been many valuable gifts given in honor of Seara. However, none, and I mean none, are more valuable than the gift of 8 $1 bills in a dirty white envelope. That gift of $8 from the people who know not where they will sleep at night, have their next meal, or know whether they will be wet, dry, cold, or warm, gave a gift of love and kindness like no other.
And so for me, Lauren, that story really summed up
Yeah.
the humanity right behind Officer Seara Burton. She didn't have to in any way show kindness to that population, but the fact she was able to touch lives in a way, in her own way, and have those individuals who are scrapping day by day to survive, to give the most treasured item, which is to them $8 may as well be $1 million, to come into a police station and to give that gift for the family says a whole lot to all of us, how we treat each other, how we talk to each other, and by extension, what we're seeing this afternoon here live on WRTV as we continue our coverage of the funeral of Officer Seara Burton is the very best of us. We celebrate this because officers, whatever uniform they're wearing, and soldiers, wherever the branch they serve, they are the best of us, and they represent the values that are the best of us: the kindness, the compassion, the giving, the protection, the security. So we celebrate her, we celebrate all of that, all the things that we value. That's what this means, and that story meant just that.
Yeah.
She valued people.
The very best of all people, no matter who they were. And we also got to hear during the funeral from her, he called himself her work husband, her partner.
We all have that, work wife, work husband.
Yes, and he was really emotional, and it was really emotional to watch him speak about her. And I'm sure he's thinking about her right now as he mentioned that story about how she'll stay on the phone with him until he gets home. He said, I live all the way out in the woods, but she wanted to make sure that I got home safe to be with my family. And so he talked a little bit about the type of person she was, that she was competitive, that she could make a friend by talking to anyone. So let's listen in to what he had to say about his partner, Seara.
I am honored and proud to have had the opportunity to call you my partner and my best friend. I know that my son and fellow officers will forever have a guardian angel. Thank you for everything. I miss you. I love you, baby girl.
A tough moment there for Officer Kiefer Uphouse, remembering his work wife, the person that he really put his life was in his hands, and choked up there, remembering just all the good things about her, in particular the way he spoke to his son. And you know, as parents, we want the best for our children, and this officer, Seara Burton, had a dream, and I think we all can understand that. That's part of the humanity. This officer wanted to do this job. This was the thing she wanted to do, and at this moment, we honor her ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah. And I think we know as parents, anyone who has that special connection with your child is forever connected to you and just means so much. So it was great to hear that story from her work partner. We also know that sounds like the beginning of this procession is reaching the Richmond Police Station. That's where we find our Nikki Dementry. Nikki, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing, the sights and sounds outside of where she'll get her final 1042 call.
Yeah, you can see right now, Lauren and Raphael, that they are setting things up in front of Officer Burton's car that has been here for several weeks now, in front of Richmond Police Department. And if we take a look at just the scene here right now, we are waiting for that procession to come through, take a final here in front of the police station. But you see, people are lined up here again, young, old, families, strangers, and friends are all here again to pay their final respects to Officer Burton. And you could see the wind is also taking over. You see people are holding flags right now, like Brenda, who we spoke with earlier, is holding a flag. And just everybody is here for one reason, to pay their respects, to make sure this family knows that they have a support system moving forward. Now, once this procession comes through here, the funeral coach, that will stop right in front of the car, and then they will do a 1042, that final 1042 call. They will read out her badge number, ask for a response, and that shows that this police department, this community really is going to take it from here. Once again, you're taking a look at the preparations that are happening as we wait for this procession to come through. We haven't seen them come through. The road is officially blocked off at this moment in time. We're starting to see more people come from the shuttles that are coming over from Richmond High School. They were at the funeral services, and more people are lining up here once again. And I do want to just take a moment. There is a wind chime standing right in front of that car. And throughout the morning, with the silence, with the wind, This noise has been going on from this wind chime, beautiful noise. And one woman came up to me and said, Raphael and Lauren, that's Seara making sure that everybody knows she is here, that she has their back still at this time. So as we wait for this procession, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio. We'll bring that live to you as soon as it comes here in front of Richmond Police Department.
Again, that was Nikki Dementry outside of the Richmond Police Department, where we are waiting that end of watch call. The procession just starting to reach her. We know the coach is in the back, and that carries the casket of Seara Burton.
On this Monday, we gather as a community to say our farewells to Seara Burton, her department, her family, her friends. A 28-year-old lady who behind that badge was compassionate. She was tough. She was dedicated. She touched the lives of so many people, children, and the homeless. On this Monday, a hometown hero is remembered, she is revered, and given the respect for her ultimate sacrifice. Our coverage of her funeral continues throughout the afternoon here on WRTV. And of course, we'll bring more live images. We're expecting that 1042 to arrive at the police headquarters within the hour, because it will take about an hour for all those police cars to arrive there. We will resume our coverage here shortly. We're going to take a slight break, of course, to bring all the live images as this funeral continues throughout the afternoon here on WRTV.
Let's listen into a package we have remembering Seara Burton and her life as we wait for that procession.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Seara was the strongest woman I've ever known, and she recently just showed the world just how strong she was. I was honored to work beside you, and I was honored to be your bonus mom.
Now am found, was blind, but now I see.
Seara, your end of watch, your 1042 is complete here on earth. However, I am certain you have already marked yourself in service 1041, beginning your tour of duty as heaven's newest guardian angel.
Love that makes the sacrifice.
Our first date was at Kings Island, and it was one of the hottest days of the year. The feels like temperature was over 100. And I remember my brother saying, hopefully you like her because that'll be one long, awkward date. We spent 8 hours together and still didn't want to leave. The connection was instant.
I once was lost, but now
We will continue to love and care for Baby Mama. So please watch over us and rest easy, sweet girl. I love you.